These are without doubt difficult times we live in. We're currently finding our way through a global pandemic with local, national and international lockdowns and restrictions on trade and travel. The change and uncertainty that this can bring can sometimes be overwhelming, let's face it. Maybe we're just within a kind of liminal space at the moment. But let's see this as a time to reset rather than to accept paralysis. So what is this liminal space? It's a space between what was and what is yet to be. You find yourself literally, metaphorically, or even mentally in a place where you can't go back because what was no longer is. And you can't move forward because what comes next is yet to become clear and available. If we feel stuck in a liminal space, experiencing the paralysis of having left the past, but without confidence in stepping into the future, we have not seen this in-between period as a creative space of reflection and transition. So it may be like this with the role that churches has to play in the justice and safeguarding scene. Maybe we just need to hit the pause button, reset and enter a new chapter with the determination to make a difference to our world as we've been called to. As Bob Briner in his book Roaring Lambs puts it, the test of the vitality of a religion is to be seen in its effect on culture. If a religion is really vital, meaningful, relevant and important, it will make a difference, not only in the lives of individuals, but also in society itself. So maybe this is the time, as C.S. Lewis put it, to stay on our knees a little bit longer to hear God's voice. Maybe his voice calling us forward, reigniting our passion for truth, justice and a safer world. If the church is no longer the carrier of this hope, who else can be relied upon? There comes a point where we may need to break from the tradition or the norms that have been in order to see justice take shape in the lives of others around us. Doing what we always did will only get us what we always got. We need change if we're going to see a just church rise above the dark shadow that engulfs it at times. We have a part to play in this alongside the rising generations. Together we have a responsibility to set a new agenda and a new way that learns from past mistakes, demonstrates real commitment to seeing good fruit, as insightfully suggested by Jude Padfield, who said that we have to change the approach. We realise that the things we learned and embraced in our formation aren't necessarily the right things for those who come after us. The spotlight shines on the negative influences we embraced. And even when we got things right, sometimes life, culture and society changes and demands different qualities from those in the generations behind. So whether we're focused on global poverty, on climate change, equality and diversity, safer churches and communities, deinstitutionalisation of children, baby loss, law enforcement, or any other aspect of society in which we want to see justice, we must be inspired by the hope that things can and must change for good. But let's not kid ourselves into thinking that change will come overnight. We're going to have to work hard at it and bring our learning from the past to help shape our onward journey. In his work on resisting the quick fix approach to leadership, Edward Friedman reflects on the position of the church, the arts and academia in previous times, and the ability of society to push forward to reinvent itself, even when justice appeared far from view. And he said this: late 15th century Europe, despite its glorious cathedrals, emerging artists and developing network of universities, was a society living in the wake of plague, the breakdown of the feudal order and the increasing inability of an often hypocritical and corrupt church's capacity to ring true. Over the next half century, more radical change occurred in every field of human endeavour than had ever happened before. So you see, we've been here before. Whatever our context, Whether feeling trapped in the liminal space of a pandemic lockdown or a crisis of confidence in government or religious institutions, change is possible. In fact, as Christians, we are called to be the change and the bringers of change, the change agents, if you like. The purpose of being the town on the hill, as we read in Matthew chapter 5, was not that we should parade ourselves selfishly, showing our glory whilst continuing to collude with the ways of the world or society, but that we should shed light on what surrounds us and exist as an example of what should be. The independent inquiry into child sexual abuse in the UK has just concluded its investigation into safeguarding within the Anglican Church and other aspects of the church in this country. Amidst the flurry of media attention and the running commentary on social media, there is a seldom explored message. What typically happens when an organisation or individual is publicly found wanting, or worse still, guilty of a great injustice, is a distancing from them by the multitude of critics. This is easy to do because when we see something that offends us, those who are justice-minded feel compelled to speak out, and that is right. But what we sometimes don't appreciate is that when Christians speak up against other Christians critically, some degree of respect and realisation is too often lost. When we criticise the church for its failings, we forget that we are part of the church too. The way in which we speak out needs to appreciate that to the onlooker, we might as well be a part of the problem. And maybe this should alter the way that we communicate at these times. As suggested in this pearl of wisdom from our friend and patron Paula Gooder, when one person offends, it's never just that one person who offends, as bad as that is. It has an impact upon and relationship to all of us. So she says this: the actions of an individual are never just the actions of an individual. What one person does affects the whole. One of the reasons why Christianity struggles to find a natural home in the modern Western world is because Christianity is underpinned by an understanding of corporate identity, in which who you really are can only be understood together rather than apart. I can't agree more. We need to stop saying they need to change. And we need to ask ourselves, how do I need to change? We are the church. And if we want to see justice done, safer places created, and change demonstrated, it starts with us. It starts with me. So together, being led by God, there is indeed hope for our future.